My guest at this time is a former IWGP Tag Team and never open-weight six-man tag team champion. You will see him soon here in the New Japan Strong Tournament. It is David Finlay. David, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, David, let's get right to it here. New Japan Strong is a very big tournament right here, right now. What would it mean for you to win this and get this United States Championship title opportunity?
It would be huge. Jon Moxley is a huge name. The IWGP United States Championship is a huge title. So I think beating Jon Moxley, winning the tournament, winning the title, that would be some accolades I would like to add to my resume.
Well, absolutely. We get to Mox here in just a second, but first you're going to have to deal with Chase Owens. Now, what do you think of this guy? Do you feel like he's been overlooked? I feel like a lot of people don't take Chase as seriously as other members of Bullet Club.
I would agree with that, but Chase is a sleeper. He does well in tournaments. He's kind of a bracket buster. He was trained by Ricky Morton, which is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So he's definitely somebody to take very seriously.
Absolutely, yeah. And, with Bullet Club right now, just to get your take, I know that you've mixed it up with them or with LIJ here not too long ago for the tag titles. What do you think of Evil stepping up here, joining Bullet Club, becoming the leader of that group?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. It seems to have worked out. He's the double champion now. So, can't argue with the results.
Yeah, and what kind of a signal does that send to you that New Japan is willing to take a chance on a guy like that, just give him the rocket out of nowhere? I feel like that's got to be something that, makes you feel good.
Yeah, I guess. It's a weird situation right now where you're kind of limited on what you can do and what you can't do. So we almost have like a Japan team and a U.S. team right now. So like you gotta make do with what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the guys I thought that was kind of cool that jumped in here with this New Japan Strong, I saw Alex Kozlov is going to be doing commentary for this tournament. What do you think of that caught me out of left field seeing that one.
I actually previously hadn't been around Kozlov at all, besides like just saying hey and kind of like in passing. But I thought he did really well on commentary. I was impressed. I would really like to have him back on commentary. I thought he was that good. So I really enjoyed it.
Very cool, man. Here with Moxley holding the title right now, it's been a little while since he's really had a chance to defend this thing. First of all, because, what's going on right now with there being two different groups, the Japan and North American group, would Moxley be allowed to defend this title on American soil? Is that what this is going to result in, or would it have to wait to be a Japanese defense?
I honestly have no idea. I think that's between Jon Moxley and New Japan and AEW, I think, to figure out. But, yeah. It would be cool if he could defend it in the States, since it is the United States Championship.
Yeah, it's a little weird to me. Do you think that the title has taken a little bit of a back seat here recently because it hasn't had the exposure it had when it was more actively introduced?
Honestly, I think everything's taking a back seat right now, just due to the current circumstances. But I think once everything gets up and running, everything will be hopefully back to normal or even better.
Yeah, well, and with that, we talk about the two different, groups you have here, Japan and North America. How have you been dealing with this right now? You were coming back not too far off from an injury, right? You were finding your momentum again. And now all of a sudden, everything goes from 100 miles an hour to 0. How have you been dealing with that?
It felt very reminiscent of last year. I was out for 8 months, about the same amount of time. I got hurt in February, then this year, the whole pandemic happened. So like, it's weird. Like I felt like I just started to get the ball rolling and then, the entire world stopped. So it kind of took some adjusting and getting used to, and also like, there's really no light at the end of the tunnel. It's all been speculation of like, oh, well, maybe we'll go back in a couple months. So like, it's been frustrating a little bit, but also I've just kind of focused on the positives. I got to spend time at home with my wife, my dogs, my cat. I get to see my family a whole lot more. Like this is time at home I'll probably never have again.
Yeah.
Being healthy. So, I just kind of choose to focus on the positives in that.
So what was the experience like for you getting back in there and wrestling again in this kind of unique environment that is going on right now with no fans and all this distance and stuff that's happening at the moment?
It was very strange at first, but it kind of reminded me of when I was in high school. I was on the wrestling team, so it was similar to like wrestle-offs for the varsity spot or whatever, where like you're just going hard and there's no one there. It's just like man to man, who's better. So it kind of reminded me of that, of my high school days. But I enjoyed it. Once you get used to the differences, you kind of don't think about it anymore. But I enjoyed all the wrestling.
Well, and with that, these shows are starting up again here, and you guys are playing very much the North American audience. And, much like you kind of went to 100-0, I feel like, New Japan obviously as well, because there was from what I've heard, going to be a huge American expansion here for New Japan coming into 2020. What do you think New Japan could be doing right now to engage American fans, like different than what they do over in Japan? Like, what do you think the product needs over here?
I mean, obviously with an audience, I think is the most obvious answer. It's kind of hard to build, I guess another territory from the ground up if you got no people coming. Right now we're solely based, off of streaming and online and stuff, which is fine. That's great that, we have that technology now to be able to get wrestling whenever you want it. But you just can't beat being at a live show, having a live audience, it doesn't compare. So I think that's really what we need is we need to open back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with this tournament here, I wanted to ask you about a couple of your opponents here. You've got, or a couple of the possible other opponents you got in the tournament. One of the names, Brody Lee, or not Brody Lee, Brody King.
Brody King.
Sorry. Too many Brodies in my vernacular at the moment.
Right,
yeah, this is really interesting, because like Brody's kind of been in a faction. You were with Finn Juice. This is a chance for you guys to show yourselves as single stars. What do you think of Brody and the fact he's been included in this?
I think it's a great opportunity for him. I think he's got a possibility. I mean, he has a chance to win it. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, I would like to win it. I'm trying to win it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Brody in the finals. He's a big boy and he's violent and he hits hard. So.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because now that I'm talking about this with you, I interviewed Lance Archer just before the G1 last year when he debuted and really kind of broke out as a single star. You've been tagging with Juice Robinson here for a while. Finn Juice, very popular, everything like that. But do you see this as a chance for you to step out and reestablish yourself as a single star and show that side of yourself again
100%.
for wrestling fans? Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Although, I love tag team wrestling. It's my favorite style of wrestling. It's what I'm passionate about. But I think people maybe I haven't really been given as many opportunities to showcase that I can go as a singles wrestler. So this is a good opportunity for me to show what I am capable of and hopefully, gain a couple more fans in doing so.
Yeah, well, and talk to me about Juice here. I think that you guys are so interesting because it was kind of like an oddball pairing when you guys first got together. I mean, can you walk me through what it was like when you guys got paired up and how you guys were able to find that chemistry that you have?
Well, so it started when we were in the dojo. I got there a couple months before him, and he got my number from a mutual friend we had. I can't remember who, and he just kind of texted me like, "Hey, I'm coming to the dojo. What do I need to do?" So we kind of started texting back and forth here and there, and then we finally met, and then our rooms are right next to each other in the dojo, and then our hotel rooms were tended to be next to each other. We go out to the same sponsor dinners, so we just organically had this friendship, and then start getting paired together in matches. So it just all happened organically, and I was like, all right, well, there's an opportunity here. Let's take it and run with it.
Yeah, man. And that's, I'm glad you brought that up. The New Japan Dojo, you were a young lion. I think that's such an interesting program. It's so different than I think what we get here in the United States. Can you talk to the viewers out there a little bit about what that time was like for you while you were breaking in with New Japan?
It was a lot of hard work, and I'm glad that I went the dojo route as opposed to the other routes that were available to me, just because I am a fourth generation wrestler. My dad was, very successful in this industry.
Right.
So without meaning to, and even though I was aware of I don't want to have an attitude, I don't want to feel entitled or anything, it happens inevitably out of immaturity. So I think me going to the New Japan Dojo where they didn't care. The moment you walk in the door, whatever you did before that doesn't matter. It's all right, you're a young boy, you start over, whatever you had before, and you got to do it the way we do it. You got to come to our system. You got to earn your spot here. So I think for me personally, that was the best thing. And maybe I clicked a little slow on really putting in as much effort as I should have done. But I mean, if you look at all the people that came through the dojo, Japanese and Gaijin, the record kind of speaks for itself. It's a system that works. You're around, I really feel I've been around the best wrestlers in the world for the last 5 years. And you can't not get good, sharing locker rooms with these guys, sharing rings with these guys. So the system speaks for itself, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just wrestling training when you're in the dojo, right? You have household responsibilities and things like that.
Yeah, so we would wake up at 8 a.m. to clean the dojo, clean the toilets, make sure whatever laundry was folded was folded. Training would start at 10, go to about 1 or 2. One guy would be like on lunch duty. He'd make the chanko. The rest of us would be doing laundry when we're done. Like it's just you're going all day. And then Sundays you had off. And then if you didn't debut yet, you weren't allowed to leave the dojo.
Yeah.
Like there's like the Japanese boys, like they don't debut for like a year sometimes. So they're just like quarantined basically.
Wow.
But like you have to earn everything in there. Like even like if you notice the Young Lions debut, they don't have knee pads. They have to earn wearing knee pads.
Yeah.
It's like everything is like, all right, you got to work for it. You got to earn it. And I think it really instills a good base of like how this business works. It's like you just got to put the work in and earn it.
Yeah. And was there ever a time in there where it was like so tough you were like, maybe this isn't right for me, or was that never something in your mind?
Maybe not. This isn't right for me, but when I first got there, I was questioning like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
Because this was when Jay White and myself were still friends as well. So like I had known him from wrestling in England prior. So I like kind of, when I got there, I was like, oh, so like, are the horror stories true? Because all you hear is like, oh, they do thousands upon thousands of squats. And Jay was like, the most I've ever done is 500, which is still like 500 straight. It's quite a lot. But I was like, all right, that's not so intimidating. And then like day one, this is when, Yo was the dojo boss. So like he kind of just like ran training or relayed whatever, our senpais were saying.
Yeah.
And he just looks over, they say something in Japanese. I have no idea how to count. I don't know anything. He just looks over and he just goes, 1,000. I'm like, 1,000 what? And they just start squatting and yelling and counting in Japanese. And I have no idea what number we're on. And that was like day one. And then day two, it was like, all right, we got to do this again. And there was like a little bit of me that was like, I'm just going to pretend to be sick. I'm going to puke in the toilet and call it a day. But I'm like, no, they've probably seen that and everything else in the book. So I just got to, suck it up and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first couple of days was rough just because it was like a shock to my system. I hadn't done anything that hard before in my life.
Yeah, 1,000 squats right out of the gate. I challenge everyone right now to pause this video or audio and attempt to do that. And then when you're done, you can start this back up again. You can listen to the rest.
It takes about 45 minutes. Because luckily I watched like the time we started the first day and the time we finished. So then any other time we'd have to do like 1,000 squats. I was just watching the clock the entire time.
My abs hurt right now thinking about this. But before you went to the dojo, obviously your dad's David Finlay, like one of the legends of the business. I mean, was he excited for you to continue the family lineage, or was he like hesitant to have you get into the business? Like,
no, there was never any hesitation. Like, both my parents actually always wanted me to do whatever made me happy, and for me, just so happened to be wrestling is what I wanted to pursue. So, like, I think he was a little extra happy that I wanted to follow in his footsteps, because like he grew up in wrestling. Like my grandfather was a promoter, a wrestler, built his own ring. My great grandfather, same thing. So like it's just been ingrained in our family. Like we're a family of wrestlers. Like even my brother and sister who are younger than me, they were amateur wrestlers. In their youth as well. So like we're just a family full of wrestlers. So the fact that I wanted to continue wrestling, I think he was really, really happy about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's like the hearts. I mean, you guys roll so deep there. That's crazy, man. And like when you first started like working with him, like what was the first training like for you? I mean, obviously it sounds like it was gonna be very different than what you wound up doing over with New Japan.
Yeah, so I guess my first like dad taking me in the ring and showing me around was like I must have been like 11 or 12 because I would go on the road with him for like a week during the summers. And he would get me in the ring and, like teach me how to bump, teach me how to wrestle and all this stuff. And I just kind of like periodically would, get taught stuff. I've had a ring at my parents' house since I was 15. And, but dad was always on the road and he'd come back and, like he'd only be home for 2 days. So I was kind of like, maybe not a pushover, but just like I was more conscientious of his time at home.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't press like, hey dad, let's go in the ring. And then finally he was like, I'm going to retire. This is like in 2012.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to retire. You want to do a tag match with me for my last match? And I hadn't wrestled yet. So I was just like, yeah, okay. Thinking like, this is one of those things that's just like a whimsical idea that'll never, happen. Yeah. About 2 days later, he's like, all right, we're going to Germany in 2 weeks. I'm like, Dad, I don't know how to wrestle. I don't have gear. What are we going to do? He's like, whatever. So brings me in the ring, gives me like a crash course for like 5 days. And then, it was off to the races from then.
Man, that's wild, man. What are you this is going to be a dumb question that just came to me, but how do you feel about your other brother, Swoggle? What was it like for you to know that he had joined the family tree?
So funny story about this. I think that they announced or revealed that Hornswoggle was my father's son on Raw. And
right.
that night before Raw came on TV, or like when I got home from school that day, my mom sat me down. My mom's never been in the wrestling business, right? She's been like a wrestler's wife, but she's been around my dad. They've been married for, I don't know, they've been together for a very long time.
Okay.
So she sat me down and she was like, I was in middle school too, like 7th or 8th grade. She sat me down. She's like, David, this is what they're going to do on TV tonight, which means tomorrow when you go to school, all your friends are going to be asking if this is your brother. You have to tell them yes.
What?
I'm like, what? So you have to tell them yes. I'm like, all right. So like I go to school, sure enough, is that your brother? Is that your brother? Is that your brother? And I have to go, yeah. But then of course, like that's not good enough to my friends. So they're asking like all these follow-up questions like, well, how come he doesn't live with you? So I'm having to like BS on my friends on the spot just because my mom told me I have to tell them that that's my brother. So.
Wow. That's learning to sell. That's kayfabe right there.
Wrestling family, man.
That's incredible. All right. Well, let's round up here. We'll come back to New Japan Strong. So it's gonna be every Friday nights now. It'll be on New Japan World, correct?
Yes.
One of the other talents that I'm gonna be speaking with here pretty soon that I wanted to get your take on. Jeff Cobb. What an insane talent. What do you think of the man that is Jeff Cobb?
I love Jeff Cobb to death as a person. I think he's an insane wrestler. He's an Olympian.
Yeah.
And I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough.
It's true.
And he's also the strongest human I've ever met in my life. Like, no lie.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like to be in a ring when you have that much power you're dealing with?
Luckily, I've never had to face him. Oh, no. Yes, I have. Tag league.
Mm-hmm.
I faced him in tag league. But luckily, I've been, like, on his side more than I have been opposing him. So, like, I've been fortunate in that. But he's just made of steel. He's so strong. Like, I can't emphasize that enough, how strong he is.
Yeah, and him. Well, I don't think that he's walking the line with ROH and New Japan. I think he's just New Japan. But Brody obviously still with ROH. What's the relation? Do you know anything about that? I mean, I know that since you guys are getting up and running shows, I don't know if there's a chance ROH is going to kind of piggyback with New Japan or anything like that. Or
I think there's some kind of like might be some kind of working relationship in talks. I'm not really 100% sure though.
Sure.
I'm open to it. I would like to honestly wrestle as much as I can. So like I'm happy to go wrestle for anybody.
Yeah. And do you think it's smart for New Japan to have like an American company it works with, or do you think that the brand should try to, make its way?
I don't think we need it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think like we're past the point of like we need to get in the market. Like I think we're in the market. I think we don't need anybody else's help. But there's a lot of like good talent out there that you might want to see in a New Japan ring, and you might want to see some New Japan guys in an ROH ring. I always like interpromotional stuff.
Yeah, for sure,
So,
man.
like I think it's it's a good way to switch it up, keep things interesting. So like,
yeah,
it can't hurt.
Yeah, man. Well, I was at the G1 Supercard, Madison Square Garden, and that thing was bonkers, out of control. That was cool to see all the action you guys were bringing to the table together. So, well, anyway, David, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Do you want to let everybody else know where to find you, follow you, support you, and is there anything else you want to say about New Japan Strong before we wrap it up?
Oh yeah, sure. You can follow me on Twitter at the David Finlay. My Instagram is at SuperStupidDave, and watch NJPW Strong Friday nights, NewJapanWorld.com or NJPWWorld.com. And it's actually like a lot. You're gonna see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces too. Like it's just gonna be interesting. It's an interesting time to watch wrestling right now, I feel, and you should definitely check it out.